Thank you very much. Sometimes I feel like a black Forrest Gump when I get an introduction like that. Thank you. You know, it's great to be back in Oklahoma City. It's great to be back in Oklahoma. I was here for 5 years working as a vice president and a professor at the University of Oklahoma. At that time, it was a great setup. I was spending 3.5 days in Cambridge, Massachusetts, 3.5 days in Norman, Oklahoma. I felt like I was living my own reality TV show. Red state, blue state, black guy. It was great. It's coming to Fox soon or something like that, or True TV. But in all sincerity, I want to start us off talking about leadership, talking about life, talking about education. But when you hear a college president talking about education, you think he's going to give a litany of the liberal arts or of science, this, that, and the other. I'm going to give you 5 Bs. I'm going to give you 5 Bs to a real education in the 21st century. It might catch you off guard. It might catch you off guard. The first B I like to talk about when I talk about education is very simple. Just be yourself. Just be yourself. Now, I was born not too far from here, or grew up not too far from here in a town called Plano, Texas. So go back to 7th grade, 12 years old thereabouts, 13 years old, and I decided that I was going to wear a tie to school. Now, this doesn't seem that mysterious for a guy who's 42 years old, but when you're 12 years old going to a public school in Texas where it's hot all the time, and you show up with a tie on, you're odd. And my brother proceeded to tell me all the time, I don't know who this kid is, he's odd. But I decided to go to school with the tie on. I would show up every day, and people would say, hey, Howie, why are you wearing a tie to school? They used to call me Howie back when I was younger and had more hair. But I said, because I'm trying to be smart, I'm trying to be serious, I'm trying to be about something, so I'm going to wear a tie to school every day. Again, my brother said, he's odd. But I said, it's about being yourself. It's about expressing yourself. And that same desire to express myself led me to join Army JROTC. You're familiar with Army JROTC probably, military program. Now, you wear this really, really cool green uniform every Thursday. Again, not the coolest thing in the world, especially when you're in a public school in Texas. So every Thursday I would show up, and I was a football player too. I'd show up at football practice. Everybody would tease me, especially my big brother. I'm in therapy. I'm getting over it now. But I'd show up in my green uniform, and my brother would make fun of me. The team would make fun of me. But I was a good football player, so sins were forgiven being a Texas high school football player. But odd. Why are you doing this? Because I want to be serious. I want to be about something. It's not about me. It's about honoring traditions of my family. I want to be serious about this. So it was pretty cool because by the time I arrived at my senior year, I had risen from being a cadet private to being a cadet colonel. I looked like Patton or Colin Powell. I had medals up to here. I had this rank on my shoulders. I thought I was about something. I even got a sword. Now, how cool is that? I could go to school with a knife, and nobody got in trouble, right? They would say, Howie, you got a knife. I'd like, yeah, well, you better watch out, buddy. But I'm being myself. That same Howie back there in 12th grade, captain of a football team that won a state championship, a Texas high school state championship. That's pretty big stuff, even in Oklahoma. So I would show up at parties and people would go, hey, Howie, how about a beer? And I'm like, no, Howie, no, I don't do that. I'm trying to be serious, trying to be about something. You know, they'd show up and they'd give me these funny little cigarettes they want me to smoke. I'd say, no, I don't want to do that either. It was about being myself. Because, you know, I tell young people all over this country, and I speak to quite a few, and I say, understand this. No matter what college you go to or university you end up at, people will offer you things to smoke, to drink, to lick, that you should not be smoking, drinking, or licking. This is a PG-13 audience, right? The point is, you got to be yourself. Not in a selfish way, not in this about me kind of way, but in a way that says, I want to be about something. The hip-hop artist Drake always says, what am I doing? What am I doing? I'm being me. I'm being me. That's the first B in an education, is to be yourself, is to be yourself. For my second B, I need a volunteer. We'll be very quickly. Let me see if I can find a volunteer in the audience. Richard Clemens, come here. Hurry up. I only got 13.25 seconds to give this talk. What's your name?
Richard Clemens.
Richard Clemens, okay. My second B has to do with the great philosopher, Dr. Bill Cosby. He has a great line. He says, I brought you into this world, and I can take you out and make another one just like you. Give Richard a round of applause. Get off the stage. Get off the stage. Hold my time. Hold my time. Now, I brought Richard up here because I want to remind, especially that generation that Ken Stoner was talking about before, that millennial generation, that you need to be humble. You know, I've got these two great kids. One's 13 and one's 17. And for some reason, they think they actually have stuff. But I tell them all the time, you don't have anything. That's mine. Hey, Dad, I got $20. No, you don't. You're just holding it. It's my money. I'm letting you hold it. Hey, Dad, we have this great house. No, we don't. You don't have anything. You're poor. Your mom and I have a house, right? And the point is that this generation seems to think that they actually did something because their mom, their dad, their grandmother, their grandfather, the postman, their Nima, their dog catcher actually did something. And I say, no, you haven't done anything yet. Your parents or your grandmother, your grandfather, your aunt, or your uncle have. So you need to be humble. Be humble. Recognize that no matter how tall your grandfather is or your father is, you still have to grow. You still have to grow. Then I say, I know you can do it, but don't take credit for things that you haven't earned yet. So be humble, which is my second B. My third B goes back to the point that was alluded to by our wonderful hostess, that I played football at the Air Force Academy. We actually beat Ohio State in my senior year, the Liberty Bowl, 23-11, 17-point underdogs, if anybody wants to go. So come on a YouTube video near you. We beat Ohio State. Oh, how I hate Ohio State. But anyway, it's another story. But we had a great coach named Fisher DeBerry. Fisher DeBerry is from South Carolina, which meant he spoke often, loud, and in a way you could not understand. So most of the time after practice, it went like this. By golly, man, we need you to come over here and get ready for this football game. Get ready to get fired up. Get ready to play this game right now. What the heck did Coach this say? I don't know, but I think we need to run over there and get close to him. He's telling us something. So Coach would get fired up after practice. He'd have his semicircle around us, and he'd be going on, by golly, kick it, a kick, the punt is a punt. We got to be ready to play this game. And we'd be on one knee, like so. Coach DeBerry would keep talking. And then after he'd go on for a while, you go to the second knee. Oh, my golly, I think we need to do this. And you go to a third knee. And then 16 knees later, Coach said something that made sense. He said, by golly, man, what kind of team we have if everybody were to practice just like you? And what kind of team we have if everybody were to play just like you? And by golly, man, because he had that South Carolina accent, don't forget that. What kind of team we have if everybody were to comport themselves in the classroom just like you? That struck me right between the eyes. Fifth practice of my senior year, the coach was kind of challenging my manhood, challenged all of our manhood, or womanhood, if there had been a woman there, challenging us to be accountable, Now, the powerful thing about it is I'd learned about that in my moral philosophy class. It's a great German philosopher named Immanuel Kant. All college presidents have to quote esoteric German philosophers. It's in our contract, so bear with me for a moment on this one. But Immanuel Kant had this idea of a categorical imperative. And Immanuel Kant challenged us and said, what kind of world we live in where if everybody were to act like you were in a certain moral circumstance? Just like Coach Barry said. What kind of world we have if everybody were to carry themselves just like you? What a simple, powerful, compelling lesson for life for a 21-year-old guy, woman, young person. That's what I wrote my Rhodes Scholarship application about. Of course, Fisher DeBerry, the football coach, and Immanuel Kant. I think the Rhodes competition committee was so confused they had to give me the scholarship. Who the heck does that, really? But I did, because I was being me and I was trying to be myself. So be accountable. I like to say to young people, when it comes to being accountable, it's like 5 seconds to go, and it's the Lakers, and maybe I shouldn't say this in Thunder territory, but it's the Lakers. And Coach Jackson looks at the team and he says, option number 1. This is not a rhetorical question. Option number 1. Oh, option number 2. Option number 3. Right, I used to do that with the Miami Heat, but I was like, I don't know, is it Bosch? Is it Wade? Or is it, I don't know who it is now. But I say, want the rock. Want to be accountable. Want to be the one that the coach calls upon. Want to be the one that stands up. Want to be the one that's held accountable and responsible to make things happen. Be accountable. Be like Kobe in that regard. My fourth B. January 17, 1995, Captain Chris Howard was flying his T-37 trainer in Del Rio, Texas. Something like this. This is Tiger 7-1, Area 39, requesting permission to do acrobatic maneuvers. Roger, Tiger 3-1, you're cleared acrobatic maneuvers. All pilots talk with their hands and in their hands. It's just a medical defect, I guess. So here I am in my Tom Cruise outfit. I'm in my third solo mission. I've requested permission to do acrobatic maneuvers in this bubble jet canopy T-37 jet. And I'm doing what you call a Cuban 8. And it looks like this. You want to see it again? Right. I did this for the Marines a couple of years ago in Camp Lejeune. They're like, sir, slow down. We can't keep up with you. You're going too fast. I'm an Air Force guy. I got to make one Marine Corps joke, just one. Anyway, I'm on the backside of my Cuban 8. I'm inverted. I roll from inverted to erect. I'm going about 300 knots. I go to pull the stick back, and the aircraft goes down. Now, you don't have to be a graduate of Harvard Business School to know that when you pull the airplane this way and it goes this way, that's a bad thing. That was a bad thing. An aircraft that usually sounds like this, sounds like this. So I'm passing through 300 knots, 310 knots, 315 knots, right? And I'm getting really negative in the seat, and my head's hitting the top of the canopy. And I'm thinking to myself, I'm seeing things, ladies and gentlemen, that pilots should never see. I'm seeing leaves. I'm seeing trees. I'm seeing leaves on trees. I'm seeing squirrels on leaves on trees. I'm seeing nuts in the hands of squirrels on leaves on trees. There's a problem. I'm going to die. Oh, there's an ejection seat. Love the special effects, don't you? I eject out of the airplane. It was like getting hit by an all-American free safety, right? Because where I was going a few minutes ago, 315 miles an hour, ground coming up at this rate, train leaves Chicago at 5 o'clock in the morning, I land in New York City, it's not going to be good. So I got out of the airplane, and I'm flying around, and all of a sudden I get an opening shock. Second guard was Tom Cruise, right? I was as cool as the other side of the pillow. But now I'm breathing, I'm shaking, I'm screaming. I look to my right, I see the airplane go from right to left, fireball. I'm reaching to take my visor off and to take the bayonets off, clips off my mask. I grab my face. My helmet had been sucked off in the ejection. My gloves had been sucked off in the ejection. I sense the side of my face is swollen and bleeding. And I say, I'm going to land right there. So I go to make a landing, right? And I've done parachute landings before. I usually do a PLF, a parachute landing fall. Yeah? I did a PFL, a pretty freaking bad landing. So I pummeled into the ground, hurt my knee pretty severely, got picked up by a Border Patrol helicopter about an hour and a half later, was taken to the wing commander, Colonel Pepe. Of course, he had a West Virginia accent because all fighter pilots have West Virginia accents. Captain Howard, what happened? By the way, my South Carolina and my West Virginia sounds a little alike. I apologize. What happened? He says, I know you made the right decision because I'm here to shake your hand, not pick it up. I said, sir, I was doing a Cuban 8, turned into a nose-low recovery, turned into an ejection. Well, I had surgery about 2 days later in San Antonio, and about 8 weeks later, after 2 grueling investigations, Colonel Pepe called me in his office, and he says, we've cleared you. You can go back in the cockpit. Now, ladies and gentlemen, the last time I was in a cockpit, I almost died. So who could, give me a hard time for not flying anymore, right? I could have said, no, thank you. But I thought to myself about the 54th Mass who had fought in the Civil War with 5 of Frederick Douglass' sons, the all-black unit that had fought during the Civil War valiantly. I thought about the 9th and 10th Cavalry, some of whom had fought here in Oklahoma, fought against the Indians and actually fought and built the telegraphs and won 16 Congressional Medals of Honor. I thought about the 332nd Fighter Group, led by Benjamin O. Davis, Jr., the first black graduate of West Point in the 1900s. Thought about my father who had fought in Vietnam, my uncle had fought in Vietnam, both of them winning Bronze Stars. Thought about all the people that had sacrificed for me to be standing in front of that commander And when I had the opportunity, I stood here in front of him at attention. I saluted smartly, and I said, "Sir, Captain Howard, reporting for duty. I choose to fly again." Within about 8 months, I'd gotten my wings, and I was a pilot in the United States Air Force. But the lesson I have here that I think is important for this audience is to be courageous. Be courageous. TED can teach you all sorts of great ideas, but if you don't have the courage to step up to actually do something, to overcome, then it'll never get done. It'll never, ever get done. So be courageous. And it doesn't have to necessarily be physical courage. As I tell young people all the time, you see somebody getting picked on, you say, "Stop it." You see something going wrong in the classroom, you be willing to say something. You see somebody dealing illicit drugs in the school, you raise your hand. It doesn't have to be jumping out of an airplane or crashing an airplane. I don't advise anybody to crash an airplane. Not a very good thing to do for an Air Force career, I promise you that. But be courageous. Be willing to raise your hand and to make that difference. The last B I have is this, and that is to be the change in the world you want to see. Now, you've all heard Mahatma Gandhi's quote. It's a wonderful quote that's reiterated by so many great leaders. Be the change in the world you want to see. There's a great song by John Mayer. He says, "Waiting on the world to change." Don't wait, especially the millennials in the crowd here, especially this generation. The problems of global warming, HIV/AIDS, all these issues out there will be addressed by this generation by being the change in the world that you want to see. So with that in mind, I just ask you all to be yourselves, to be accountable, to be courageous, to be resilient, to be the change in the world you want to see. And if we do that, we'll be in a much better world. We'll be in a much better place. Thank you very much for your time.